Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. You can hit the logo on the bottom corner of the video, click subscribe. It's free and very much appreciated. So this morning we're going to be doing a rear brake bleed on the Da Vinci Cobain. This is a method I came across on the internet. I didn't come up with this method. I just thought I'd share it with my viewers. It's a super simple way of bleeding brakes just by using gravity. We don't need syringes or doing anything fancy like that. So let's take a look at what the tools are we're going to need to do this job. Okay, so basically we're going to need, obviously going to need Shimano mineral oil for the brake system. This little Shimano cup that goes on the lever with the plunger. You guys have probably all seen this before, probably have this if you have Shimano brakes. 7mm wrench. We have a 5mm, 4mm, 3 and a 2.5mm Allen key, a rag, and just some, my favorite, isopropyl alcohol just to clean up after. So the idea behind this brake bleed is we're going to be using gravity basically to force the brake fluid from up there, the brake lever up there, down through the line to the caliper down here. So if you have a bike stand, kind of position your bike like this, just with your front tire up in the air, so you get the brake lever nice and high above the caliper. First thing, we'll just remove the 2.5. Actually, one thing I will say we should be doing first is we want to make sure this brake lever is nice and level here when we put this cup on here. So this is pretty good here, so we don't need to adjust the angle of the brake lever, but we'll just undo this 2.5mm here. Make sure when it comes out there is a little O-ring. Make sure not to lose that little O-ring, set that aside. And then you're just going to screw in that little Shimano cup there. So I'm also going to go ahead at this point and fill up this cup with oil, like so. Then we'll just take this little plunger out and just set it aside in there like that. So now we're going to move down here. One thing I did forget to mention, you'll probably want a bucket or something just in case you're going to get some brake fluid on your floor. So just have an old bucket or something to collect the brake fluid in would be ideal. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the brake pads from the brake. So just removing the pads off here first. We'll just set those aside. There we go. So we're just going to set the brake pads aside. Then I'm going to go ahead and remove the caliper from the frame here to give us some room. I'm also going to cut the cable zip ties that I have on here just so I can let the brake hang freely. So then we can just get the brake out of here like so, and we'll just let it hang down low into the bucket here. So we have our caliper hanging down low into the bucket. Now we'll go ahead and remove, there's a little bleed nipple on the brake caliper. We're just going to take that off, the little nipple, bleed nipple there, and we'll just set that aside. And then I'm going to open this bleed valve on here. There's a little bleed valve on the caliper. We're going to remove that completely with the 7mm. Now brake fluid is going to start flowing out of here now, so make sure you're over top of your bucket. Okay. If we look down in the bucket now, you can see brake fluid is dripping out of the caliper. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to take this caliper in the bucket and I'm just going to turn it side to side like so. This should get all the air out of the system because it's flowing from the top bucket down to here. At this time too, you can try to get some of that brake fluid down inside of the caliper on the pistons themselves. It'd be nice to lubricate them that way. Keeping an eye on the top bucket to make sure it doesn't get too low. Cup at the top doesn't run empty, so we're going to go ahead and do up this bottom here quickly before that runs empty. So we're just going to go ahead and put this bleed valve back in. And put the bleed nipple or bleed valve cover thing back on, like so. So just go ahead and wipe off the brake caliper now, get all that brake fluid off of there before we put the pads back in. I'm also going to take a tire lever at this point, and I'm just going to force the pistons back in all the way. Yeah, so taking the tire lever here, just putting it in the brake there, if you can see, and I'm just kind of pushing them back all the way in. Then I'll just take the alcohol, spray everything with some alcohol and clean it up good. Gonna go ahead and put the brake pads back in right now. So now just put the caliper back on here. I'll go ahead and zip tie this brake line better later. So we want to try to make sure the lever is centered over the caliper when we tighten it down. We can always adjust this later, but we try to get this as close as we can right now. Okay, so now we're going to move back up to the lever, and we're just going to pump this a few times, make sure there's no air bubbles coming through there. Just pump it a few times, hold the lever down. This will self-adjust the pads to the rotor, get them in the right position. So one other tip I forgot to do, I think you can do it at the end here, it doesn't really make any difference, but there's this free stroke adjustment screw on Shimano. Just bring this around and show you. There's the screw right here. We're just going to back that out. Pull the lever down. And then we'll just do this back up all the way. And then once it's in all the way, we're just going to back it out a quarter of a turn. Like so. So some nice solid feeling brakes there. So go ahead and we'll remove the bucket and seal all that up there. So we'll just put the plunger back in there. Remove that. So make sure to put the little cap back on and make sure we have the O-ring on there. Like so. So you guys, hope this video helps. Got some nice feeling solid brakes here, rear brake on the DaVinci Cobain. Now, just wanted to share this quick method of doing this. Like I said, I didn't invent this method. I just came across it. I think it was a Syndicate Pit Tips or something. I saw a video on how this was done. Super easy, just using gravity basically to force all the air bubbles out of the system, working from top to the bottom. Similar principle would work for the front brake. You could just easily just take that off the fork and let it hang. down low and let the gravity work for that. So again, guys, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for subscribing to the channel and stopping by. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so now. Just hit the subscribe in the bottom corner. It's free and very much appreciated. So we got some cool things coming up on the channel, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And as always, keep your feet on the pedals.
Oh, shut your face, Toogie Howser.